Hey guys, today I will be making the Sirius motif from the 2022 VVCAL, and my demo hexagon is going to use Shapejust Color Crafter with a size 4mm hook, and let's just get into it. So for this hexagon, I'm going to chain 4. I know I've been chaining 3 for all the others, and if you're brave, you can chain 3, and I did chain 3 for this sample right here. I chained 3 and it was really hard to get all of these stitches because there's 24 times here that you have to go into the center. So I made it happen, but it was difficult. So I would say just go ahead and chain 4 just so you don't lose your mind trying to fit 24 stitches into a chain 3 ring. All right, so chain 4, slip stitch into that 4th chain from the hook. And now you've got a bit of a larger ring to work into. So we're going to start with a beginning to treble cluster. So how I work that is I go straight into a single crochet, and then I chain 2, and then I make a treble and go in. And so that is my 2 TR cluster. All right, so there's the very first 2 treble cluster of our round, and I'm going to chain 2 and then make another regular 2 TR cluster. So just go straight into it. All right, and just in case you don't know how to make one, I will actually slow it down a little bit. So I've chained 2, and as you make these, you're going to want to like move them over. Like I said, there's going to be 12, so it's 24 times going into the center, so you'll have to keep moving them over as you go so they'll all fit. Okay, so yarn over twice, insert your hook, pull up a loop, draw the yarn through 2 loops on the hook twice. All right, so there's our first leg of our cluster. Yarn over twice, insert your hook, pull up a loop, draw the yarn through 2 loops on the hook twice. And now you've got 3 loops on your hook, draw the yarn through all the loops, and there's your 2 TR cluster complete. And chain 2, and you're going to repeat this until you have 12 total 2 TR clusters, and then you'll make your one more chain 2 space to have 12 total chain 2 spaces. So now I think I have like 5. Yeah, I have 5. So I'm gonna have to fit like 7 more on there. So you really have to keep pushing these things over and really pulling that center ring out. And it's gonna look crowded at first. It's gonna really look crowded, but now you can see I have space to make the others. So just make it happen, keep scooting them over, and you'll see you have more ring in the center than you thought, and just keep going. All right, I just have one more to add on here. So I wanted to just show you, it's looking pretty rough. So I'm really having to pull these apart for this last one, and I'm gonna work it right there in the middle. So I'm going to just make this very last one. One thing you wanna make sure is because it's so deep into like the forest of the 2 TR clusters that you're working into right now, make sure that whenever you go in here, you don't like pull up a giant loop to start out with to like get yourself out of the weeds there. Because if you do, then those particular stitches at the very end are gonna look different than the rest. So really try to maintain your stitch there and just like work here like you normally would, pull it through and really get in there in the center so that you can make sure that your stitches are consistent. You'll see what I mean when you're making it, that you're gonna feel like you wanna make the beginning of it all long so you can kind of make it taller, but don't, because then it won't look like a perfect ring. Okay, so now you can see the center has a hole, which I am not a fan of. So just try to gently pull the tail, and whenever you weave your tail in, you might wanna wrap it around and around and around and just kind of pull so you can pull that shut. For this one, I chained 3 and there's no hole. So that might be an advantage, but it was already difficult with 4 chains to fit all the stitches there. So I can only imagine, but I would like to close that hole. I will be closing it. All right, so for the very last thing you do is chain 2, and then we're just going to join. And I'm going to double check that I have 12 because I am notorious for having like 11 or 13. So 4, 8, 12. Yes. All right. So the way I join into a cluster is by going into these loops right here of the full treble that we did. So that way it looks just like all the other stitches. All right, so for the next round, we're gonna make popcorns. So in all these chain spaces, we're gonna make a popcorn and then chain 3 in between. So we're gonna go straight into this first chain space with a beginning popcorn. So that's a beginning double crochet and then 3 more in the same chain space. And then remove the loop from the hook and insert front to back through the first little beginning double crochet. Grab the loop and pull it through to the front to close the popcorn. Okay, there we go. Chain 3. And just a regular popcorn in the next one, which is just 4 double crochet, and remove the loop from the hook. Insert into the first of the 4. Grab the loop, pull it through to the front, and your popcorn is closed. Chain 3 and just keep repeating chain 3 popcorn in the next chain space till you have 12 popcorns total and 12 chain spaces. Okay, here is my round 2 and I'm ready to join. I've got 3 chains here, and the way I join into this popcorn is just by going into the very center where we kind of pulled that loop through and just make your slip stitch. That way you end up at the top. All right, so there's that. And our next round is going to make this more flat because you can kind of feel it doesn't feel very flat right now. It feels a little wonky, but don't worry because we're going to work 2 puff stitches in each of these chain spaces, and that's going to really help it open up. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to be in this chain space, so I'm going to make a slip stitch into that first chain. So slip stitch into 1 chain, and then I'll elongate this loop to make it the kind of the height of a puff stitch. And now I'm just gonna go into the chain space and make my first puff stitch. So yarn over, let me back it out. All right, yarn over, insert the hook and pull up a loop, 3 times total. All right, now I've got all my loops in the hook and draw through to finish the puff stitch. Chain 2. Same chain space. You might want to scoot over your puff stitch a little bit so you have space. So same chain space, another puff stitch. Okay, you don't need to make these puff stitches real tall because if you do, your motif might end up being too big or you might run out of yarn even. So don't make them too tall, but just kind of make them average size. So now chain 2 again and go into the next chain space with puff stitch. Oops. That's not a puff stitch. Okay, puff stitch, chain 2, and puff stitch. All right, and then chain 2. All right, next chain space, puff stitch, chain 2, puff stitch, and just work in that way. Chain 2. Okay, so between each puff stitch you will have your chain 2 space. Okay, so keep going all the way around till you're back to the beginning. I'll show you how to join. Okay, round 3 is finished. I do need to join still, so I've got 2 chains here, and when I make a puff stitch I join into that very first chain that comes right after the puff stitch with my slip stitch. Because you can see on the other puff stitches, it's kind of like you're skimming over the top. So you want to end up at the top to make it look like all of the others. So at this point, we still have a circle. And for the next round as well, we're going to have a circle. So I want to be closer. Well, right now, actually, I think I'm just going to work straight into the chain space with a single crochet and then chain 2 and go into the next chain space with a single crochet. So I'm just gonna work that way all the way around. Chain 2, single crochet in the next chain space, chain 2, single crochet in the next chain space. All right, all the way around until you're back to the beginning. All right, so you have these little chain spaces. All right, so there's all my little chain spaces. You can barely see them there. My little chain 2 spaces, and I did go ahead and join in the first single crochet of the round. So now I'm ready to make my second to last round, and this is where we make this into a hexagon. So for the first chain space, you're gonna just work into the chain spaces all the way around. So for the first one, I'm gonna make 3 single crochet. Just go straight into those 3 single crochet. And then for the next chain space, 3 half double crochet. I can. All right, 3 half doubles. Now in the next chain space, we're gonna make our corner, which is double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. All right, next chain space, going back down, half double crochet, make 3 of those in the next chain space, 3 half doubles. And now we're at our 3 single crochet, 3 half doubles again, 3, and our corner, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, so here is how our motif is starting to look like a rectangle with these corners. There's gonna be 6 of those corners all the way around. So I'm just gonna work all the way around and show you how that round turns out. All right, so here's how the second to last round looks. I went ahead and joined in the very first single crochet, and now I'll work my very last round, which will be just single crochet in starting in the next stitch, single crochet, and work all the way across. Now be mindful for these half doubles that you work into the half double top itself and don't go in between the stitches. And I'll show you where that's gonna be the easiest thing to skip over by accident. So I've made single crochet in all the stitches across, and then in my corner, 3 single crochet. And now I'm gonna single crochet in this double right here. And now this, where you go from a double to a half double, it really looks like a space in there, but it's not. It's just the top of the half double. So go into the top of the half double with your single crochet. So see how it looks right there? All right, now we're just gonna make singles in all the stitches across, and when you get to your chain space, make 3 singles. And I'll just show you how it looks here since I have this one finished. So you can see my 3 singles that are in my chain space there, and then all of the single crochet across. All right, you'll have 84 stitches whenever you're finished, and that is how you make the Sirius motif from the 2022 VVCAL. Alrighty, I will see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.